Good morning and welcome back to Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. And it is time for the monthly market structure resolution update with Dave Weisberger. He is the head of equity research over at ViableMkts. As always, thank you for joining us at MarketSite. We got two big things we need to go over this morning: order routing and cryptocurrency market structure. Quickly, let's talk about what FINRA is doing with order routing and why there could be an impact.
So in November, FINRA put out a notice. It was a very short notice, but very dense. It basically said they want brokers to tell them why and how they're routing in terms of getting rebates, why and how they decide how much cost when they're routing, and how they deal with conflicts of interest. So I wrote an article about this. The most important point is that they didn't say only brokers who do all the routing themselves. They said brokers who are doing routing. There are quite literally hundreds of brokers who use other brokers to do, the smart order routing and algos, but the responsibility for that routing is on the broker who faces the customer. Those brokers are going to have a very difficult time in terms of proving that they're doing the right things, because quite often those brokers choose the algos based on how expensive the algos are. And that's probably not what FINRA wants to hear. So it's kind of an involved topic, but it's one that could be a big issue.
Yeah, I was going to say, we are certainly going to cover that going into 2018. But let's talk about this cryptocurrency market structure. And I think the timing is perfect as Bitcoin is trading over 12,000, up 10% on the overnight.
Yep.
I'll let you run with this one because I just have so many questions on this.
It's funny. Earlier this year, I, along with my son, decided to form a company called CoinRoutes. And you can't see it here, but we'll post it in the blog.
We'll post it in the blog, yeah.
I knew this morning when I was in the gym, having seen Bitcoin up 8%, that what we would see was not what it looks like, which is a widening of the bid-offer spread, but a widening of how crossed the market is. For those who can see the chart, and we have a full software suite that does this, the consolidated bid and offer in Bitcoin at most points in time is crossed, meaning the bid is above the offer. Well, that doesn't sound right to people who think about it. I actually looked for a story I was talking about with another reporter over last week, and over a period of a week, it was crossed on average, mind you, 1.3%.
Why? How does that happen? Because
the demand is on exchanges where people trust that they can hold their assets. So if you go to a place like a Coinbase has the good housekeeping seal of approval, if you will, because they've made good to people. So people trust their assets there, so they bid on their exchange, which is called GDAX. The problem is there's other exchanges where it's trading cheaper quite often. In fact, over the last day, GDAX has been on the best bid 73.6% of the time.
Now, on an equity exchange, what would that percentage be for the person?
Basically it would mean a market share on the bid side of the market akin to what the New York Stock Exchange used to have before Reg NMS. Right? But on the offer side of the market, they're almost never there. They're almost never the best offer because somebody else is offering well below them, 1, 2, and in some cases as much as 8% below when the market really moves. I mean, it's actually quite challenging.
How does that get resolved? How does that get rectified?
Well,
is it because there is no regulation yet?
Well, no, it has nothing to do with regulation. It's everything to do with just putting the market back together again. We founded CoinRoutes to build a smart order router. And a smart order router is something that actually looks and says, okay, if I'm buying, here's where I should buy. If I'm selling, here's where I should sell. And it does so through effectively being able to scan and do things simultaneously. And it's not just Bitcoin this happens with, by the way. This is Bitcoin Cash, one of the spin-offs. This is Ethereum or
so
Ethereum.
It's a cryptocurrency asset class.
Monero and Dash and all of these coins. We actually do this. It's the kind of thing that my brain started hurting when I saw how this market was evolving years ago, because it really doesn't make much sense. But I remembered what equities looked like in the mid-90s as the ECN started to take off.
So is it possible to have the cryptocurrency asset class, we'll call it that for now, can it start to look and feel like equities? Is that technology out there?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's differences, right? There's lots of differences, but like the biggest difference is one that in equities, you don't worry that people are going to break into Morgan Stanley and steal your stock because it's held at DTC.
Right, it's in street name.
Yeah, in street name. So in Bitcoin, in Ethereum, in Dash, Monero, etc., someone has to hold that in a wallet someplace. Now, that's why all the tools that you are building in this should be security conscious, because there was a great article in Reuters this morning about security and cyber theft. It is a very big deal here. So trusting where you hold it, having security solutions, and building the moral equivalent of street name, that's yet to be done. When that happens, the market will start to mature. Firms like CoinRoutes is there to actually help you trade and get it to your own wallets, but we're not touching that area. It's not my area of expertise.
Right. So right now it's routing that you're looking at specifically to find these inefficiencies within the crypto market.
Yeah, and we've invented a couple of patents and a couple of things, but the fact is that it's really about trying to tie the market back together again. And that's very important, right? Because when you think about all we take for granted in equities, we take it for granted the fact that if you go to Nasdaq, you're never going to trade past the best price someplace. That's something called Reg NMS. And frankly, on a best execution basis, Nasdaq has routing that even if there wasn't the regulation, you would still achieve best price, as would a lot of the other exchange and other routers that are out there. In the cryptocurrency world, forget regulation. You're not even getting close to best price when you go to one place.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us at MarketSite. And traders, as always, we will continue this conversation. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.